morning and welcome to the DuPont Crop Protection Station in Alberta. Today we're going to talk about station shutdown and winter preparedness. So first of all, what you'd like to do when getting ready for your station is there is a checklist in your SOP bonder under 5.2.5 and it'll go through all the various steps and things that you should be looking at in order to make sure that your station is ready for the winter.
One of the first things that you always think about in winter is freezing, and so obviously where there's water or any kind of liquids involved, we need to make sure that they're eliminated from the facility or managed in a way that freezing won't occur. So the first thing I would suggest is you have your holding tanks here with one for lab water, which needs to be disposed of at a proper facility, and one for your sewage water, and the two can be disposed of in separate places. But before you dispose of, make sure all the water lines are cleared out. And in order to do that, we're going to take a look in the utility room just to show you at least how it's done here at our site.
So removing the water out of the rest of the station is a two-person job for the most part. You can do it with one, but it's a heck of a lot easier with two. So first of all, in our case anyway, we have a valve here. So we can turn off the water, open the water at the other end, and then use an air compressor here, just like a tire valve, and blow all the water up. We want to make sure though that we don't just see it stop, that we've actually run it a few times with the air compressor to make sure there's nothing coming out. Once that's done, close off the water at the other end, open your tap back up, and you can use that valve to now blow out your hot water tank, connecting a hose onto this valve right here. Once it's opened, connecting a garden hose to there and running it out. Then you can blow the hot water tank out. At the same time, you can then clear out all your hot water lines and any other valves on the station. From there, once each one has been open, blown clear, then closed, at the end when everything is completely empty, open them all up so any water that's left in can actually evaporate out through the hoses. Now after that, one thing that remains that people will often forget, especially with RVs and other things, is make sure you put plumbing antifreeze down all your drains, because every one of them that has a trap, the water will still be in those low spots, and you need to displace that by adding RVN. So once you have all of your main lines cleared out, there's still a couple other steps that you have to check even before you do the plumbing antifreeze. So in our case, we have a couple add-on things such as toilets. I mean, all of our stations have toilets, so what we need to do is make sure that these tanks are properly drained out. Also, the bowls need to be drained out. You just use the plumbing antifreeze through the tanks and have it displace all the water that goes through there as well. That works fine. Make sure though that you've closed off those the valves going to the toilets while you're blowing out all your lines. Otherwise, your water will or your air will constantly go through the toilet. So those need to be turned off once you've removed the water from the lines. So in terms of the chemical storage for the winter, some people are storing off-site, some are on-site. So if your heat is left on, what you want to do is make sure you have a backup heat. Okay, in our case we have electricity, or everything is gas heated, so we'll actually buy electric heater. We have one, we plug it in, and it's a backup, and it just kicks in if the temperature ever drops below a certain point. You want your inventory up to date, you want it on your computer, and you also want it posted in the lab in case something ever happens to the computer. You've got a paper copy, or if you come in, you can take a look and see what you've got without having to open up your computer. The nice thing with this is having it up to date and on your computer when it comes time to your product ordering in the spring, you've already know what you've got. It should prevent you from having any shortages, that type of thing in season. The same goes for your seed, so make sure you also have your seed inventory. Okay, so other things that we don't often think about, or people often won't think about, is rodents. One thing that helps deter them is getting rid of anything they can use to make a nest. So things like your extra Kleenex boxes, toilet paper, paper towel, move that somewhere. Put it somewhere where the mice can't get to it. Clothing that is left in your locker should be taken home and emptied out, just so that they don't decide to use that as a new home. All your liquids and that, they should be in these secondary containers, but make sure that they're going to be in heated storage. So something else that often will attract the rodents in is things like granola bars, any kind of food, right? Same thing with the grain, wherever your seed is stored. So make sure that that is, in the case of granola bars and things, maybe you take it home. And when you're going through your lunchroom, make sure that you've got everything cleaned up and yours put away. So it's nice to make sure your fridge and your freezer, if you happen to have one, that they're clean, the microwave is clean, your water tank is emptied. So not just taking the tank off, but making sure that after the tank is off, that you end up actually running it, making sure everything is cleared out so that there's nothing left in the lines that can freeze. Okay, and then a couple other small tips just around your station. Any of the electronics and high valuables that you've got, it's good to take them home and store. We have an extra computer, we have an extra printer, that type of thing. It's good to take them home. It's just, if somebody were to ever break in, you have to think about information safety as well. You take your paper files and store them as well. For a couple of reasons. One, you want to have quick access to them as you're reviewing data in the winter, writing summaries. You can go back and look at your paper copies quite quickly as opposed to having to drive up to the station to grab them. But also just, again, for the information security portion of things. One other thing before you leave the station is make sure everything's working. Your fire extinguishers have been looked at, your carbon monoxide, and your smoke detectors have all been looked at.
So something else that you need to think of once you're done with the labs and with the office is your equipment in your shed. So all of that stuff you also have to worry about. There may not be water or anything running in there, but there are liquids such as in your tractors and your sprayers, etc. So making sure that everything is winterized, so make sure all your sprayers are blown out or that you've ran antifreeze, plumbing antifreeze through them. Making sure that everything is greased, oils checked and changed if needed, making sure that your air filters have been blown out, making sure all your fluids at the correct level. Check your antifreeze in particular to make sure that it's actually good to -30, -40, whatever your case might be, and depending on your location, how cold your winters get. Make sure that everything is cleaned off so it's ready to go for the spring. So even now, after you've washed it all down to get rid of any grain that could attract rodents and that on, then make sure that you grease it afterwards. It's just great to make sure that the grease is actually pushing water out of any joints and that it's properly lubricated over the winter while it's sitting. So once that's done, make sure your sheds are cleaned up, the garbage is all hauled. Once your water has already been hauled away, you're pretty well ready for the winter, and you can start moving the rest of your paperwork and whatnot off to your home office. So, that being said, I think that will cover basically everything that you need to do when it comes time to shutting down for the winter.